there you see Patroklos, who is potentially the charioteer of Achilles and is certainly the therapon of Achilles in the sense of attendant. We see him, Patroklos, now becoming the ritual substitute of Achilles. So we see the deeper meaning of therapon here.
And what is signaling that?
What's signaling that is an epithet which seems to apply here almost out of context. Because if you just look at this passage of and by itself, you could say, well, all it's really saying is that Achilles is calling out to Patroklos. Patroklos, would you come here, please? And Patroklos is inside the tent, so he comes out, say, what do you want? But as he comes out, look at line 604, and he, Patroklos, came out, equal to Arēs. Well, why is equal to Arēs at that point? We know from the macro narrative that this precise moment marks the beginning of his fatal involvement as the ritual substitute of Achilles. After this, the plot is set, and he is going to die for Achilles. There's no turning back. He doesn't know it yet. He's just stepping outside of the tent, and he gets this epithet, īsos Arēi, equal to Arēs, and we know retrospectively that this is what he will be like when he confronts Apollo. And this will be the reason for his death, because he is facing death by facing his divine ritual antagonist. All that is going to happen later. All that is going to happen in Scroll 16. But already here, there is this theme song, you might call it, equal to Arēs, which predicts what's going to happen to him. And when we hear it again, we'll know this is it. And I underline in the way I formatted this translation what happens right after this fatal application of this description, equal to Arēs, where I highlight and I read my translation, and here I see it was the beginning of his doom. So it's almost like making sure that we know that that application of that epithet really matters, and it's going to mean something.
And I see it.
And that's my translation for this Greek particle, which we talked about this earlier. The particle is ra or ar or ara or gar. And whenever you see that in Homeric poetry, it means that the speaker is visualizing something and wants you to visualize the same thing. And so I can't resist putting in that extra translation, I see it, just to convey what that particle, as we call it in Greek grammar, is all about. It's a marker for the visualization by the narrator of what is being narrated.
So is this an opportunity to flash forward then, to see the corpse?
Yes, yes, it really is. It's like a flash forward, a preview, and it's so visual.
But you could visualize it all, right? You could visualize the moment of his death. You could visualize when he's dead.
Because look, for most people, when they hear this, they've already heard the death scene of Patroklos countless times. Sure, there'll always be somebody who heard it for the first time and then may not get it when somebody who hears it for the first time, let's say you're 7 years old, well, you're not going to get a lot of things. But here, I see it was the beginning of his doom. But for the song culture community at large, this is already a visualization of some great scene that everybody knows and loves already.
And whatever they're envisioning.
And whatever they're envisioning. And it's uncanny to me, but the conceit of this poetry is that everybody sees exactly the same thing. Now, I don't know how you could possibly try to argue that from the point of view of cognitive psychology, and I'm not going to argue it, but I am saying that there are many devices in the way the story is told where it's assumed that everybody who hears something is going to see exactly the same thing, that there's a shared visualization. We'll see that very clearly when we get to Odyssey Scroll VIII, where the blind singer is asked to sing about the Trojan horse, and the way he starts into it, the wording makes it clear that everybody's expected to see exactly the same thing. When words A, B, C are said, that sets it up. So the words are tags for a shared visualization. Or can we say a notionally shared visualization?
And yet, when we're talking about lament, we talked about the idea that seeing the body could be a trigger for you to deal with your own griefs, whatever your own care was.
And that's also so beautiful, is that what's supposedly shared can be very personal. If you hear this over and over and over again, what seems like something very personal, very tied to one character, can also start becoming part of everybody's shared vision. And you know, this reminds me of the fancy term. It's a fancy literary term, but it's pretty useful. Vocalization, where sometimes what somebody says, as if it were based on personal experience, can only be understood in terms of the master narrative. It's almost like one speaker is already second-guessing what the whole story is. So it can happen even that way, and when it happens that way, where somebody is speaking and is embedded in a story, but is speaking within that story, where what they say can be imagined as what the master narrator would say too. So that would be vocalization. But it's so clear here that Patroklos doesn't know what's going on yet. Why, Achilles, do you call me? What need do you have for me? So he doesn't get it, but the signals are all there that the stage is set for the ultimate ritual substitution.